Now that the Giants' 2026 schedule is officially set, let's predict how the Giants can do this upcoming season. We're going to go game by game and discuss various stretches throughout the Giants season and how they could potentially perform. If you missed my reaction to how the schedule was laid out, make sure to go and check out that video and also subscribe to the channel and hit the like button as well. I'm going to try as hard as I can in this video to not be biased. But at the same time, I do think that this is going to be an unbiased opinion because I am not going to just be a complete and utter homer and come on here and say that the Giants are going to go 13-4. I think a lot of people should expect that the Giants could be competitive this season, could be looking at a potential path at the end of the year to get into the playoffs. I personally think that they might just fall a hair short or be one of the last teams in because it's hard with all the problems that they had a year ago for them to completely transform overnight, even if we're all bought into what John Harbaugh can do. Let's take a look at the schedule. All right, starting off with the opening stretch here for the Giants. I really hate that the Giants have to start the year off with the Cowboys and the Rams both in primetime games. I think with any instance that you have a new head coach, even look at the success stories. Look at Ben Johnson and Vrabel from a year ago with the Bears and the Patriots. They started the season a little slow. It took time in order for them to catch their stride. Most importantly, they caught their stride when they found the easy pocket in their schedules, and then they used that momentum for their biggest opponents down the stretch. Giants have an opportunity to do that. I think that the Giants, with facing an improved Cowboys team and a Rams team that is a Super Bowl contender, is going to be a massive challenge. In any situation, Giants fans, they don't want to lose to the Cowboys. I think that they're going to lose this game. It is going to probably be a lot more competitive than we've seen in the past, especially when these games have been in primetime settings. But I think the Cowboys are going to be a lot better than they were a year ago. And that the Giants, if they're going to beat them, it'll probably be later on in the year after the Giants have established their identity. I'm going to be as realistic as possible here, though, with the Rams. I do not think that they're going to beat Los Angeles. I really think that that is going to be a 14-3 team, maybe even a 13-4 team if they drop a game inexplicably. But they're going to be one of the final four teams during conference championship weekend when we have a very, very clear indication of who is going to be good enough to reach the Super Bowl. After we turn around, though, and this was something that I talked about in the schedule reaction video that I did last Thursday night, to turn around and to get Titans and Cardinals in back-to-back games after you start off with everybody watching you, all eyes on you, you get to completely remove yourself from the national spotlight. If you start the season 0-2, you get to get revenge. I wouldn't call it revenge, but you get to go to war with Brian Daboll, who is now the Titans offensive coordinator. While it'll probably be built up, and I'm sure that he'll be excited for an opportunity to prove Giants fans wrong, that Titans roster is a mess. They have a lot of work to do, and the Giants have a real chance here to overwhelm their offensive line, to also be able to establish both lines of scrimmage early in this game. I also don't think that the Titans have the weaponry to capitalize on attacking this Giants secondary. Beating the Titans should be easy. The Cardinals they're like 3 years away from being competitive. Now, there might be a long Jeremiah Love rushing touchdown that would really, really be a gut punch, but the Giants should come away and be 2-2 after those first four games. Coming back around to the next primetime game, it again, the whole thing bothers me that how early on these primetime games were, that you've got three of your primetime games happening in the beginning part of the season. There's not really any middle ground to kind of fill yourself out. The next one doesn't come until the very end of the year against the Lions. I think the Giants are going to lose this first Thursday night football game against the Commanders to put them at 2-3. It is another spot where you get short week, new head coach. I'm going to keep repeating the same thing. You're trying to establish and figure out your identity. You're getting your feet underneath you. You're going to lose a close game on a short week against an improved Commanders team. I don't know if the Commanders are going to get back to the play that they had in Jaden Daniels' rookie season, but I do know that they spent a lot of money on defense, that their offensive line is going to be pretty good. And if Jaden Daniels is healthy for this game, it will be a big challenge for New York. This is a coin flip, though. I do think that this is a circumstance where it could go either way, but just purely for the sake of prediction, road game, Thursday Night Football, Giants end up losing this one. They then get another advantageous spot going up against a different young team. I think that there is a stark difference between the improvements that the Giants had this offseason and the Saints. I also think that this is an awesome opportunity for Giants fans to prove Saints fans wrong, because at the end of last year, everybody was pulling every single advanced stat to show, oh, Tyler Shuck is better than Jackson Dart. Tyler Shuck is so much better than Jackson Dart. This is the true prove it moment. Home game against the Saints, opportunity to get back at 500. Finishing things off, though, and moving on to the next stretch of games, traveling to the Texans right before the bye week. This Texans team had one of the best off seasons out of any franchise in the NFL. I like their draft class. I like the free agency moves, trading for David Montgomery. They're going to win the AFC South in my eyes. I think that this is one of those situations where, to continue to repeat myself, while you're trying to establish your culture before the bye week in the beginning opening lineup of games that you have, going up against an established Texans team that adjusted their issues, their roster issues effectively, they'll win this one. While the Texans do tend to start slow and the Giants could capitalize on that and catch them off guard, I think that this Texans team is much better than the ones over the past couple of years that have started the past couple of seasons off to a bit of a slow start. Bye week comes at the perfect time because theoretically, in this situation, you're coming into the bye week with a record of 3-4. It's going to feel a little bit wonky. There was a hope that maybe you went 5-2, but there's going to be enough of a reset to evaluate, to really figure out what needs to be improved upon before you transition to the final run of the season. This final run in this pocket of games, I think that there is an opportunity for a lot of ground to be covered. Coming out of the bye, they get the Eagles, which is going to be tough. You travel on the road. You're going to probably not win this Eagles game. The Eagles are another franchise, Super Bowl contending franchise, that had a really good offseason and did everything that they needed to through the draft to address their specific needs. But where the recovery starts to come in is when they get the Commanders at home. I think that they beat the Commanders to pick up their next win, their fourth win of the season. I don't think this Jaguars team is going to be very good this upcoming year. They were a roster that was kind of gradually declining, lost a lot of key players, including Devin Lloyd, and then also did not respond, and also Travis Etienne did not respond by effectively drafting to fill in depth at key positions. They had the worst draft by a long stretch. And this team's either going to be unexpectedly good because some of these guys that they drafted are going to fit specific roles that none of us see coming, or this team is going to be a complete mess and they're going to really struggle. And the Giants will be able to utilize this as a moment for them to pick up their second straight win. And then going to the Colts, the Daniel Jones revenge game, I guess if that's how we want to call it. I don't really consider it to be a revenge spot because I care less about Daniel Jones. I also feel as though there's a chance that the Colts have a bit of a rocky season next year. They were really, really good last season, but there is ultimately a lot of volatility, especially with the health of Daniel Jones. Coming off of the Achilles, I have no idea how long it might take for him to get back to normal. An Achilles injury for any athlete, any position, is one where it significantly impacts your ability to make big plays. If he can't drive the ball because it's a lot harder for him to plant because of his Achilles, that is going to be an issue. He's not going to be as explosive as a runner, which we all know is a big deal for Daniel Jones, a big asset for him when he was with the Giants. If that's not on the table, then can he be as dynamic as he was for the Colts a year ago? I think that the Giants can steal this one to get them their third straight win. 49ers, no matter what's happening with them, when they come around and they have to get the 49ers at home, which is advantageous that you've got a 49ers squad traveling across the country, they're going to be ultimately very, very competitive no matter what. I'm going to go simply off of the fact that the Giants have the advantage of facing off with the 49ers with a 1 o'clock kickoff on the East Coast. It is a huge, huge disadvantage for that 49ers team to have to deal with that. I also think to a degree this offseason we're starting to see this roster for the 49ers slowly start to degrade. It's slowly starting to fall apart. They did have some solid moves like going and getting Mike Evans. We can always trust Kyle Shanahan's going to put out a great team, but there's a chance that they're just a little bit weaker than they were a year ago. We saw some of the cracks. The way that they played against the Seahawks was the proof of, like, hey, this is how they look when they're at their lowest, when they're lacking depth. And right now, I think that this roster overall is lacking depth, that the Giants can absolutely capitalize on that. So then they would end up getting their fourth straight victory to close out what would be a really, really good stretch. Sadly, they then have to go on the road to face off with the Super Bowl champion Seahawks. I don't think the Giants are going to win this one. You already have the dominant culture in Seattle, the Harbaugh connection as well with Mike McDonald. There is going to be an uphill battle to try and beat a team like this. Albeit the Giants would have a lot of momentum during that stretch to go across the country, to go square off with a team that's going to be in the running for the NFC West, for the top seed in the NFC. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to pull that off. Browns are a nice palate cleanser. You just get that out of the way. I don't think we need to sit here and like truly break that. If the Giants lose to the Browns, it would be an extremely disappointing loss. An extremely disappointing loss if they could not beat the Browns, because this Browns team, albeit their defense is really good, Giants offensive line is going to be better. They're going to be able to slow down that front seven a little bit, enough for them to be able to move the ball, but they're going to smother that incredibly weak offensive line that they completely reset this offseason. Then the final portion of the year is going to be quite tricky and quite tough. I see a number of matchups that, as I said this in my reaction video, you're having to deal with, you're having to face off with in this final month of the year, to close out December and January. You are going to have to deal with a lot of top franchises that are probably going to be in the hunt for playoff spots. Lions on Monday Night Football, I don't think they're going to win this one. Assuming that the Lions get right and they correct some of their issues from a year ago and they figure out their offensive woes that held them back, they're not going to be able to beat them. Cowboys, they end up getting back on the Cowboys. Even though it's on the road, I think that this is enough of a circumstance that if they're comparable enough with their rosters and they're close enough to one another, that if the Giants lose to them at the beginning of the year because they're still getting settled, they would then have the right momentum at the end of the season to be able to beat the Cowboys. Lastly, I sadly think if there's one team in the division that they go 0 against, they get swept, it's probably going to be the Eagles. The Eagles have always had the Giants' number, especially in situations where the Giants are trying to transition away from one culture to the next. I have a really kind of tough feeling here that this Eagles team is going to have the Giants' number in 2026. This ultimately would put the Giants at a 9-8 record, a strong enough of a season for them to be in the hunt to get in the wild card. But at the very least, we would be talking about them as showing a lot of positive growth, a lot of improvement, and a lot of reasons to be excited about 2027. When you're as bad as you were a year ago, that is how this works. You can't expect for everything to be fixed overnight. If you go 8-9, 9-8 in 2026, it is a major improvement for the upcoming year. Comment below what you think is going to be the New York Giants record in 2026 and hit the like button and subscribe. We'll talk to you later.